Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for another episode of Foam Stamps 101. So last week I said that I was going to show you at some point how to make storage for your foam stamps. And then I got to thinking about how many we already have, and I thought it would be a good time to do it right now so that you have a place to put them as you go along. So I just have a boot box here, or a shoe box, and I just went in my back room and found a box. It doesn't matter what size. This box it's about 4¼ inches tall. It's 9¼ inches wide and 11½ inches long. It does not matter what size the box is. Whatever box you have, you can turn it into a storage unit. And I'm not just talking about have a box and throw everything in there. We want a way to store them safely. So what I'm going to do is I need to decide how do I want my storage unit to work. And so I can make it so that I put some storage shelves inside and I just open it up like this every time. So to me, this extra piece, when you open it up, takes a lot of room. And if you don't have a lot of room on your desk or the area where you're working, you have all of this area over here that it really isn't doing anything, but it has to sit over there. So I don't think I want it to be like that. I think what I want is I'm going to have an opening here. So we've got this part that folds up. So I think I'll make that like a door. And then I will put some shelves in here like this. This is going to be my top. So in order to get it ready first, I already did put some tape on here just to tape these flaps down. You wouldn't always have to do that, but these flaps do kind of stick out like this. And since this is going to be my top, I'm going to put the top back on it. And have it just be open on the end with that door. So I definitely want to make sure that that's nice and flat too. This box is kind of sliding out here, so I'm going to push that back in so that it stays where it's at. I think I might even put a staple in it to hold it there. So, and any type of box will work. So it doesn't need to be a shoe box. It doesn't need to open this way. Any box, even if it has the 4 flaps, you can still close the 4 flaps and cut a side off of it. Or the flap side could be your opening. I do have a playlist of storage on my channel. So if you look for that, if you go on anyone's channel and that makes videos, if you go to their channel, if you click on their icon, on their picture, I'm going to put a little bit of tape right here. Just going to kind of sturdy this up while I'm talking. If you click on their picture, it will take you to their channel. If you click on their icon, it'll take you to their channel, and then it should say like videos, lives, playlists. And if you click on playlists, it will show you any playlists that they have. And I do believe I have a playlist on making your own storage. So if you need storage for anything, you can go there and look. I've made a lot of different storages. This is another one of my favorite things to do, is to figure out how to store things. And the biggest thing about storing things is you need a place to put whatever you're storing, but you also then need a place to put the storage box that you make. So that's a nice thing. If you've got an opening somewhere that's 5 inches wide and 12 inches tall, you can make a storage box. You could take this box and you could use it by cutting this off, and it would slide right in there, and you could put shelves in this way. So, you know, you can make storage however you want to fit where you need it, and that's why I like to make my own storage. So, okay, while we're at it, just like I kind of taped these flaps down, I'm going to tape these flaps down too, because they're very kind of in the way. And now what did I do with my tape? Here it is. And this is just plain old clear tape. It's on a roll or whatever. This was my dad's pride and joy. He took very good care of it. It's still even in its box. And we use it a lot. But you can get them you can get little red ones at the dollar store and at Walmart. You don't need anything like that. you can just get the plain old roll of clear tape and just make sure that before you let it go, after you cut a piece off, put something under there so that it doesn't stick back to itself, and then you have to try and find the opening again. So I am just pushing down where I had stapled it, because that staple is poking out, and I definitely don't want that to be happening, although it's going to be closed and stay closed, so that won't make a difference. All right, so let's see. This is my bottom, and I want to get rid of all of this. Even if this is going to be my flap, this is just too much in my way. So I'm going to cut both of those off. Get that out of my way. And I think I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife. And because it's right there on the fold, I can just cut right down that fold. Just like that. Let's do this one too. Keep your fingers out of the way whenever you're using an X-Acto knife, and pay attention to what you're doing. You're getting too much of a hurry. I've had to have stitches once, and really I probably should have had them twice because of X-Acto knives, so do be careful. Okay, so there's that. And then we're going to cut them off. I'm going to come right in here and just cut right there. And then we'll cut this one off too. And I know it's hard to see what I'm doing, but I'll show you as best as I can, being that this is the size it is. Okay, so we have the bottom of our box and the top of our box. And remember I said I wanted this to be like a door. So I'm going to cut it right here so that this will open and shut like a door, and this top is going to go on the box and stay there permanently. Because I'm going to build some little drawers to keep the stamps on. So I'm going to cut along here. And then we'll make some kind of a little closure for it at the end. So we're going to cut that way. Okay, so now this is what we have. And see, this could be any box. And you cut the side off. And even if it doesn't have a top, you can just get some cardboard and make a top for it. Or if you don't want one, you don't even have to have one. This is going to be my door. This is going to go here. I'm going to tape that all together. And that will be our opening. And that is where our stamps are going to go. So I'm going to just really quickly put a couple of staples in here to hold this together. Did that staple? Yep, it did. There we go. And I'm going to go over here, put a couple of staples. And also, let's see, because I know that I'm going to be putting some things on the inside, I'm going to put the pokey parts of the staple on the inside, because then they won't bother anything. And if you put them on the outside on accident, which I've done before, oh, I can't get that. There we go. If you accidentally put them on the outside, just cover them up with a little piece of cardboard or something and some tape, just so that you don't poke yourself or they don't constantly catch on something. So this is now what our box looks like. And so now I need some shelves inside. And actually, kind of messed this up. It would have been easier for me to build my supports before I put the top on. So, being that I stapled it and did not glue it, I'm going to pull those staples out. And that's the thing. You'll make mistakes sometimes. Maybe you won't. I do. And if you make a mistake, you fix it as best you can. I still could put those supports inside here without taking it apart. But because I want you to see what I'm doing, it will be easier without having this lid on it. But now you know what we're going to do with the lid anyways. Put these in. Got a little garbage can on my desk now. If I can remember that it's there and use it. course, I had to put all those extra staples right in here. There we go. There's 2 of them. So yeah, if you make a mistake, like, your storage is going to last you forever. So if it is something that you can fix, take the time to fix it. If it's something that you can't fix, you can figure out a way to take care of it. So, but okay, so I'm going to take this lid off. But you know what it's going to look like now. All right, so what I want to do is I want shelves in here. And so we're going to measure it. And I'm going to use, foam core board is what it's called. Okay, so this is 8 3/4 wide by 11 inches long. So what I've done is I had a bunch of scraps of foam board. And so to start with, I cut a whole bunch of supports, because whenever I do a shelf, I always make supports. And foam board works really great to make your shelves with. If you don't have it, you can use cardboard. Just glue a few corrugated cardboard and glue a few thicknesses together. But I do like the foam board for that. And one board a lot of times will go a long ways. But what I did was I just put all of my scraps on the table, took my ruler and just cut them. And so I just cut anything that was at least 8 3/4 or whatever that is long. How long are these? I cut them to 8 1/2 because we had this here and we also had the bulk here. So I cut them at 8 1/2. Oh no, 8 1/2 wide, because that is how wide it is. Right at the very back was 8 1/2. Okay, and then my other ones, because the longest piece that I had, remember, it was 11. So being that we now have this space, this here, it's only going to be 10 3/4. But the longest piece that I had, in order to have enough, was 10 1/2, I think. Oh no, it's almost 10 3/4, almost. So I think maybe I might have measured it to there. But so you're just going to measure. You just want to make sure that this width, it does not matter how wide that is. That is 1 5/8 is how tall this is. But it doesn't matter. It could be 1 inch. It could be 2 inches. I just used my ruler because that was the easiest way to do it. And I made supports. So the ports are going to go here and here. And you want to make sure that it fits inside so that you can shut this. Okay, and that's going to be just perfect. And like I said, these were all scraps from other things that I have made. And pretty much what I use this for is just to make shelving. And I've made a lot. It really does work well. I love making my own shelving. So there we go. Now we have supports to hold up our shelf. And so then we measure it. And it is 8 1/2. Right up here. It's 8 1/2. My, cardboard is a little bit bowed, but it is 8 1/2 by 10 3/4. That's what I had that was only 10 1/2 inches, I think. So I just cut some foam core board. No, that's also the right length. So 10 3/4. So this shelf, I cut it just to fit inside this box. And there it is. And then this will shut like this. And that's what the shelf looks like. Now these supports, I'm going to glue them to the wall. These supports make it so that even though your stamps are not heavy or anything, these supports are going to make it nice and sturdy and will hold it up. You don't need to have one on the bottom. Not only is it a waste of your foam core board, but it also will take up some space. So why not leave that extra 1/4 inch space for your stamps? So you can put it, and I have before, I put them on the bottom and on the top, but they don't have to be in all of those places. So what you're going to do is you're just going to, whatever size your box is, you are just going to cut. And there's another way to cut these where you can just cut them and kind of snap them. I figured the easiest way to do it was just measure your box and cut across, so long as they're all exactly the same height, so that when you put your shelf on top, it fits on there perfectly. So you just take some, and I am back. This is part 2 of building your own storage for your foam stamps. It will come out right after part 1. Accidentally, I forgot to turn my alarm off, and when my alarm went off, it stopped my video. And because we already got this far, I did not want to start over. So I'm going to try and put these together, but I don't think I can, so I think you're going to have 2 parts. So here we go. We were just gluing these side supports to the walls. And when you do this, a lot of times I like to try and like take another piece of this foam board and make it the size, the width of these, and then push it together. I'm not going to do that today, but just to like hold it for a little while so that the glue sticks better and it really gets a good solid hold of the cardboard box. But you don't have to do that. And so I'm going to just, and really this one should have been done first. It would have been easiest to do it first since it's being held in. And see, this is just a scrap. It's even got a different color on the other side. I think that I got these on clearance, I believe. So I had a few different colors. But that's okay because it doesn't even matter. And even if the yellow, even if I put the yellow on the outside, it's just there to work for you. So it doesn't matter what color it is or what it looks like. So you're just going to put those in there like that and glue them to the wall so that they don't fall over. And like I said, if you had something that could hold them, even sometimes I've used books, you know, a book that's just this wide to hold that up. But we'll just give it a press. And then we're also going to take the shelf that we cut to sit right on top of there. And we're going to just put a little bit of glue on the edges to glue to the top of those supports just to hold our shelf in, because we'll make a drawer to pull our stamps out. And you will need that drawer to pull your stamps out so that because these are so thin, you won't be able to get your hand down in there. Just going to do that. And I'm going to kind of turn it around and see if it fits better this way. It does not. I'm just a little wide here, and that's just because of the box itself. Now, what you can do is put this in here like this and just put something heavy on top of it just to hold it for a little bit. Hold your sides together. Also, when you're done, you could take a string and tie it around the box this way just to hold these sides in while everything is gluing together. So, you know, because we're doing this together here, I'm not going to sit here and let it dry, but really it's always best to let things dry in there, you know, like as you layer this up, let it dry each time, you know, at least for a little bit, you know, push it together and hold it together and let that glue grab. So, okay, we did put some glue on this shelf, so that's good. Now we are going to see, this was an extra piece when I was cutting out some kind of a box so that I knew that that wasn't a piece I was using. And that piece is a little bit short. I knew I had some that were a little bit short. Now, these two are, I think they're made by Elmer's, like Elmer's glue. This is Elmer's foam core board. This one is from the Dollar Tree. And if you can see, there is actually a little bit of a difference in width there. Really doesn't make any difference except if you're measuring something, the width of some, you know, like when we put this one in the back, if that is 1/4 of an inch, we know that these need to be 1/4 of an inch shorter than our box. Okay, so if that is only like 1/8 of an inch or 3/16 maybe, then we know that this can be just a little bit longer because that little bit is a little bit skinnier. That's the only time that that makes a difference. The ones from the Dollar Tree do work well. So I'm just going to use, I have 2 from the Dollar Tree and I have 2 more that are the Elmer's. So I'm going to use the same ones on the same shelf. And even that really doesn't make a difference, but since I have them, I will use them that way. And really, I probably could just leave that glue the way it is. Being thicker, it might actually grab better. And I don't need solid, like a lot of things when you glue them, you want to make sure that you get the edges really well. This one doesn't really make a difference because of what it is. So that one goes in there. I'm going to make sure that this one is right up tight. It's not, so I'm going to push it up there. Should have put the back one in always first because this one butts up to it. So, and then we'll just do this last one. And again, it doesn't need to be spread around, so I'll just put it like this. It may grab better. And then I have one more shelf cut to that size. And this is the one from the Dollar Tree. It's a little bit skinnier. I'm going to take this off. And this one's going to go right here. And because this is not cut really straight, excuse me, I'm going to put the little fatter part at the back, and then I can pull the front portion in just a little bit, like that, because see, it's a little bit out. But the front portion is always out just a touch, you know, because it's not, because I cut the sides off of it. So we'll pull that in like that, and that will make this fit a little bit better too. But that's going to be so that we can get to our shelves. And when we put the top on, we'll have 1, 2, 3 shelves. So that's going to go in there like that. We're going to put just a little bit of glue along the edge of this one just so that it stays in. And then just to make sure that our top does not cave in, if we set something on the top, we're going to put these last bits here like that, and they are cut to reach the top. So I'm going to glue those in, and then we will put the top back on. But first we're going to measure the size of our shelf with the supports, because that shelf right there is bigger than the drawer that I can make, because these supports now make this measurement a little bit smaller for the shelf, if that makes any sense. And I'll show you in just a second. Okay, so now we've got this in here. Push it all up nice and tight. Make sure that your shelf is sitting on top of the support. Make sure that your shelves are sitting on the support, because this is floppy. It's kind of flopping out, and this shelf kind of fell down inside that support. So before you let it sit in glue, you definitely want to make sure that the shelf is on top of the supports. Like that. And here is a spot where it would be good to tie a string around here and hold it and let it dry a little bit before you go any farther. Now also, it's wanting to pop up a little bit, so you want to hold it down and in. Keep pressing these against the side. See, as that pops out, see, there's the edge of the shelf right there. That shelf is not on that support, and we've glued it. So we don't want it to stay just like that. I need to wipe this off. So we definitely want to make sure that we have that pushed in before the glue dries, because otherwise that will not be sturdy. All right, so what I'm going to do right this second is I'm going to hold this together, grab my ruler, put it on here, and hold this together. That is 8 1/4 about. We're going to go from the end there. And because this is 1/4 of an inch, and so that's holding it out a little bit to make it shorter, but we have to remember to deduct this little bit here so we don't make our shelf too long. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eighths. No. Yeah, 5 eighths. That is 10 5/8. But remember, there's another 8 there, so it's really 10 1/2, because that ruler starts at about 5/8 of an inch, about 1/8 of an inch. So again, I am just kind of doing this, and this is where you're going to put it together, and you're going to try and find something to hold these apart, hold them against the box, and give it a chance to dry, hold it all down so that it's all where it needs to be, keeping the shelves pulled in, keeping the sides pulled in tight to keep the shelves there. And what we're going to do is we're going to build a drawer for this. So even I could just tie a string. Let's see. I have something here. Just tie some of this crochet thread around here. I'm just going to tie this right around here. Pull those sides in. Tie it in a bow. And hopefully be able to keep it tight while you're tying it. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. Cut it. So it's just a length of string. Then, instead of tying one over knot and then another one and letting it slip out, I'm going to go over once and go over again. No, not sure exactly how I used to do that, because it would kind of stay tight. But if I go around twice, that's just putting a knot in it. Well, that's what we're going to do. Pull this together, kind of try and hold that. Yeah, that didn't work. So see? Oh. I do want to try and hold those sides together. Make sure that I pull this glue parts out. I'm really happy with how that looks, though. All right. Well, I'm just going to have to keep my eye on it. Maybe I can press something heavy up against one side. That's what else you could do. You could set it down somewhere and put something heavy on one side, something heavy on the other, and, you know, just kind of push them together, because your shelves are going to hold it apart, but push them together to hold that all together. So that is what I'm going to do. I've got this heaviness here, this heavy jar of beads will hold one side. And I have some buttons in a jar. Hold on. All right. To hold the other side. And then just keep pushing these against the edges while they're drying. So we can set it like that. I've got one of these jars on each side. And now we are going to build our drawer. So our drawer needs to be about 8 1/4. It's a touch bigger than 8 1/4 there. I'm going to go all the way to the back. And there it is an 8 1/4. And in the very front, even though I'm not going to slide it back, it is just over 8 1/4. But we're going to push that together. Okay, so 8 1/4 by 10 1/2. So we're going to get some cardboard, like our good old graham cracker box. And this is pretty cool because this box is, when you measure the flat portion between all the flaps, it is 8, going from the fold to here, 10 1/2. This box is a perfect size to make a shelf out of for our storage unit. And I didn't pick this box because of this, but when I went to start cutting this out, it was like, I measured and it was like, it fits in there just perfectly. So what we're going to do is, this is going to be the bottom of our drawer. The front will be open, and I'm going to put a little lip on the side so that they don't slide off. You know, you want the back to stand up. Okay, but in order to make the back stand up, the easiest way to do that is to have two sides to glue it to. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to cut it right along this fold. I'm going to cut this fold off. Just do that right now. And normally I would just do this with the X-Acto knife just because it's a little bit faster. But we're going to cut that fold off, and then because we want little edges, they don't need to be a lot. We're going to do like we're going to fold this up to 5/8. So there is 1/2 inch and 1/8, like from where it folds up. So just over 1/2 inch. So it's 1/2 inch and 1/8. And then we're going to come down here and do 1/2 inch and 1/8, which is actually then 3/4 inch. And the reason I say that is because you've got 1/8 inch there, then you've got 1/2 inch, then you've got another 1/8 inch here. That is a total of 1/2, and those two together are 1/4. So that's 3/4 inch is actually how big that is. If you go from the fold, it's 3/4 inch to the mark. But since I wanted to do it to make sure that they were at the same height, I folded it up, put it to there, and just had to take into account that this extra was here on my ruler. So what we're going to do is we want the back to be the same height and the side to be the same height. So we will cut them right along there. And I am going to take our box for right this second. I'm going to set it on the floor. push the sides back up where they belong. Put my weights on both sides. Okay. Now we can cut this a whole lot easier. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'll go ahead and just do 3/4 of an inch from the fold. I'm going to the bottom of the fold, and it really doesn't matter whether you go to the bottom of the fold or the top of the fold, because you know your fold has a width to it all on its own. Just make sure that all 3 of your marks are at the same. So I'm going to go from the bottom of the fold to the 3/8 to the 3/4 inch, and I'm going to make a mark, not at the top, but right at the line where your measurement starts. 3/4 of an inch at the bottom of the fold. And I always do 3 lines whenever I'm measuring anything to cut it, because if you have 3 marks, when you go to cut it, if one of them is off, you see it. If you only do 2 marks, if one is off by even by quite a bit, sometimes you line it up there and then you line it up there, and you can't tell that it's crooked because you're touching both marks. So if you do 3 marks and you're touching all 3 marks, then you know that your line should be fairly straight. So we're going to cut this side off. And then, almost your most important part, we're going to cut up here too. Because we need this little square that's going to come out now to fold up and to glue to our side. So don't cut your flaps off here until you've cut. And you can go straight across just like that. Didn't get it. Go. See, and now we've got this, and we've got this little flap that will just fold right up there. We can attach those together. Now let's do this one. Three-quarters of an inch to the bottom of the fold. 3 times. Just like that. And because we have 3 shelves, 3 places for shelves, we're going to need to make 3 of these drawers. And you just need to know what your measurements are, just because my box really worked out perfectly. And now you want to fold these in so that they'll stand straight up, because they kind of want to fold down flat. Now that you've got your measurements, you can take and cut any size pieces of cardboard to fit. Like this fit perfectly right on the folds, but if I needed it to be only this big, I would just cut it at the 3/4 of an inch, hold my ruler right there where I needed it to fold, because I only needed maybe my drawer this wide, and then just take your cardboard. I'm going to show you on here. So if you needed your cardboard to be just that wide and there was no fold there, you can just hold your ruler there. And also if you score it first, which this is going to put a pen mark on it, but you can score it with a pen that doesn't work. You can score it with your scissors, like just with the outside of your scissors, not the sharp portion, just to kind of put a dent there. And then, see how much that was much easier. And then fold it right up against your ruler. You'll get a nice straight fold. And then you can just fold it down so that it wants to stand up. And there you go. That's just as good as that fold that they put in there. So if your cardboard, you don't have to find a piece of cardboard that's exactly the right size. And I didn't go searching. I use this all the time, and it just happened to work out this way. So, and sometimes that happens. So it made it quicker for me to show you. So I am going to, and if you don't have any staples, if you don't have a stapler, that will work, then just go ahead and glue it and put a clip on it. Whoops. So I'm going to, because this sticks out so far, I can't put that on the inside so that my smooth staple is on the outside. So I'm going to have to put the sharp part of the staples on the outside. Fit my stapler right up there. Make sure that my corner is straight. And that's just going to hold it for me so that I can show you now. But you can just put a clip on it, and actually, when I'm done here, I will wind up putting a clip on it until it dries. So, but we'll look at it all together first. Some glue right here on the inside of this little flap. I'm going to put a staple in it just to hold it so we can see it. There we go. Now this is our drawer. It could have a front on it, but because we have a flap on the front of our box, I find it easier just to do it this way. Even though I could have just left the flap on here, this is what was on there, so I could have left that on there, but I like the front to be open. So now we're going to get our box. So here's our box with our shelves in it. See how that just came apart? Now the thing is we are going to put the lid on it like this. So that's going to help hold it together. And with this then, I will tie a string around this to hold it all nice and tight together. But I'll have somebody come and put their finger on my string so I can tie a nice tight knot. And there are ways to do that, and sometimes my brain works and I can get a knot really tight all by myself, and sometimes I can't. So, but that is what that looks like. And then our drawers are going to fit in there just like this. And what makes it easier to get it out is we will put a little piece of ribbon. See, here's my clips off of the other two drawers that I've already made. So this one's going to go in here. This one in here. There are our drawers. And we'll put a piece of ribbon on each one so that we can pull them out. And any ribbon will work. So I have this ribbon right here. And I can staple it on there or glue it on there or do both. Let's see. Trying to see how much I really need. If I fold this in half, can I make 2 little loops out of it or leave it long? There. I'm looking in my little odds jar. So there we go. I want them to be the same color, so we'll just do this. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to put just a touch of glue and some masking tape. But I'm not going to staple it. I do not want the bumpy parts of the staple to be on the top where my Fun Foam stamps can touch it, because if that was at the top and you had a stamp sit right on top of it for a while or get pressed down at all, that stamp could get a dent in it. So I don't want anything that can dent. So this, I've got a little bit of glue. I'm going to touch the glue with the top of my ribbon and then put these two together. And then put that there. Like that. Put a piece of masking tape on it, not just to hold it while it's glued, but it just gives it a little extra stability. And this is how you will pull your drawers out. So you have one of those on each, but because it's ribbon, it will just fold up inside of our other drawer. And it won't get in the way at all. So that one just seemed too long and too wrinkly. And I love my masking tape. It comes in handy for so many different things. And I do not buy any expensive masking tape. You can get it at the Dollar Tree, and it works just as well. They have all different kinds. They have frog tape and all different kinds of name brand ones, which work very well, but you don't really need to spend that kind of money on them. It's masking tape. So we'll put the third one on here, and then we'll just need to do something like a button on the top and a little bit of ribbon on our door to close it. And then this will be all done. And then sometimes part of the fun is decorating them up. You can cover them with wrapping paper, tissue paper, your own stamped paper. That would be fun because this is your stamp box. So there we go. Now we can get all of those in and out just like that. And what you can do is take a piece of paper and put it on your shelf. I haven't glued this and glued this on yet, but there we go. That's what it looks like. And then you're just going to be able to take all of your stamps. You can put them on there just like this. I like to put them stamp side down because you've got a nice smooth surface here and you want to keep them smooth. So you can just take them, and if your handles are sticking straight up, it's best to fold them over so that they stay down and don't get caught when you're trying to open and shut your drawer. Just like that. And what I do sometimes is I'll take a piece of paper and I'll put it, just white copy paper, put it in here, cut it to size, and then I'll stamp them all right where they go so that if you have somebody come over and everything is out and it's all over the place, because normally when I fit these, I fit them so that I can fit as many in here as possible. So instead of just like putting a few in, it's like, okay, there's room there and there's room. And so I will do that until it is completely full. But then sometimes you've got the puzzle put together so well that if people don't know where their stamp goes and they just kind of put it in there, they don't all fit because you've made them fit perfectly. And that's the only way that they'll fit in there all together. So I'll just go ahead and put some ink on them, stamp them on that paper. And I do it on the paper instead of the drawer because that way, if I lose some or if I decide to change my drawers around, or if I add something to it, then I can just take that piece of paper out and change it. But so look at all the stamps that are there, and there is still some more room. And those are all of our leaf stamps that we did. There's even a couple of our background stamps. Now this would sit right on top of here. I don't like to do that because the edges of this right here could get pushed up into this. If I really wanted to have another layer, I would take another bit of cardboard that was the size of the bottom here, we'll just pretend that this is the right size. We'll pretend that this will fit the whole area. So I would just take that and set it on top. And then you can do another layer, so long as it's within so long as it will fit within the height of your drawer, of the space for your drawer, that works. So you could you could put another whole layer in here just by cutting a piece of cardboard that will fit across this whole thing that will set right on top. Because that's not going to hurt anything. Even if it pushes on those, it's pushing them onto a flat surface. So it's not going to hurt them at all. And so then you just have one layer there and one layer here. And then you can just put your next whole set of stamps right on top. And 2 layers should fit in this one drawer. I don't make layers so skinny that you can only fit one in, because the handles may want to catch. Or it's just like, for me, it's easier to do like these 3 drawers that each can have 2 layers. So it's like having 6 drawers. Easier than making 6 drawers. So there we go. And then you just put your stamps in there. And we're going to hardly be able to see it, but no, you can't really see it. But that's how they look. That's how it works. And you just pull it out, and there are all your stamps. So, and because I tried to tip it up, they moved a little bit, but normally they stay just very nice and flat, and it works really well. So, and it's very important with your foam stamps to keep them on a flat surface when you're storing them, so that they don't get dents in them, because even like these little dents that we put in here on purpose show up on your project. Any little dent, if I were to stick my fingernail in there right now, or if I were to set this on top of, you know, something that was going to push into it on accident, whatever marks those are there, those marks will show up when you're stamping. So that's why you want a nice flat surface to put them on, so that there's nothing that's going to put any marks in your favorite stamps. So that's it. That is how you do your own storage, and it works very, very well. And even especially like with all our little ones that we just did, it's a really good way to do them versus just trying to throw them in a box and getting little marks all over them. So thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. I hope that you're enjoying making your stamps, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.